What's up YouTube? So today I want to talk about what I think is one of the most promising and forward-thinking new plugins that's been released in the last little while. Today we're talking about Dawesome Novum. So I've recently featured one of their plugins on my channel before called Abyss, which is an absolute pad effects atmosphere monster. So this is a very interesting plugin because it completely differs from a lot of stuff that we've seen before. It's a very unique take on synthesis. It combines two worlds which are still relatively uncharted territory in terms of complex VST synths. So Novum is a spectral granular synthesizer. Essentially the idea is you load in source material, it splits it up into granules, and then resynthesizes those granules with spectral stuff. And this allows you to change the harmonic structure of each of the granules for so many versatile and unique sounds. So because this is a very new type of synthesis and it's pretty advanced, I'm not going to go through explaining how it all works. I kind of just want to give you some of the concepts as to why I think it is such a powerful idea. And we're going to look at some sound design context as to why I think it's so great for just inspiration out of almost nowhere. Anyway, without blabbering too much, let's dive in and have a look. So here we have Dawesome Novum. As you can see, the interface is very similar to Abyss. It's very easy to read, very thoughtful. You can kind of stack up multiple different types of modulators, and I think you can go pretty deep there. You've got various kind of resynthesis engines. The Syntify is very, very interesting. You can think of this as like a reverse filter or like an anti-filter. I think the developer calls it an anti-filter. It basically adds more harmonics to the sound, whereas you can think of a traditional filter as removing harmonics from the sound. So obviously there are some really, really good factory presets built in here, but I think just to kind of make things a little bit easier to understand, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to load up a sample. So one thing I think that makes this plugin particularly interesting is the ability to literally just drag in any sample, and then what it does is it resynthesizes that sample in a spectral domain and also gives you the ability to control the granules of the sample. It's kind of the best of both of those granular and spectral worlds with various interesting techniques that you can apply. So I want to show you this Syntify section over here, what this does. So what I'm doing here is I'm loading up a psychedelic atmospheres from Projector's Atmospheres pack, and I've literally just dragged it and dropped it onto our oscillators over here. So this filter is kind of like a traditional filter, except it works on the spectral domain. Instead of actually subtractively removing harmonics, it changes the way that the synth is generating the harmonics. And this gives us the opportunity to, for example, do it in the inverse. So add harmonics as opposed to, just the subtractive way of thinking of things. So there are various modes. For example, with this filter, you can choose various regular filter modes. And then here with the Syntify, there's an A and B mode. So let's check these both out, the difference that this kind of applies. It kind of sounds a little bit like distortion, I guess. So if you pitch it down a little bit and use the Syntify, you can kind of really bring out that low growl in a sound. Bear in mind, this is just from this atmosphere sound. Let me actually play the default sound for you. And then this is the sound once it's gone through Novum with the Syntify and a bit of frequency. So this is cool because we can also now play these samples in a very synth-like manner and use a lot more samples in our sound design for various interesting things. So here what we could do is we could also set up an ADSR. We can click on it to actually open up the parameters here, or what we can do is we can use it to modulate certain parameters in the actual sound. So let's go back to this and let's click on it, and then you use this dial to actually change how much modulation is being applied. And then let's go here, we can actually change the particular curves by just drawing on the interface like this. So this timbre drop-down menu over here, this allows you to get individual control over like the granular synthesis side of things. So I guess this syn section, this is kind of like your spectral section. This is your granular section, and then envelope basically changes how these layers are enveloped to create the dynamics of the sound. So I'm not 100% sure about this, but I guess you could think of it as when you import the sample, it splits it into 6 different spectral layers. Each one of those layers, I think, is dependent on a frequency domain, and then you can apply various different kind of stuff to those. So, for example, we can change the jitter of the position of those, so that, for example, they not all aligned perfectly. So you can create these really wild cinematic textures that, would often take, so much pre-thought and sound design knowledge to be able to just kind of create this type of thing from scratch. But to be able to just load something and play with it and kind of develop these things is a very cool workflow technique. So let's check out some of these effects. It's actually I don't want to say clone, but I guess it's inspired by the legendary clouds. And so let's just change some of these. You can also go into each of the kind of partials or each of the layers and change these, like the way that they envelope, so kind of the way that it excites the sound. So you could just, for example, change the overall dynamics of the sound. I guess it would depend on how these settings are all kind of lined up. Yeah, we also have this timbre flower, which I think just applies various different ways of kind of jumbling all of these values together to affect the sound. So for each of the layers, if you change this little lock icon over here, like a chain link, you can actually control each of these grains individually. So you see, as you hit the note, like they're all, the speed of each of these is now controlled individually. You can actually change so many different parameters for each of these. It's pretty wild. So we can transpose them, like one of them can be an octave higher. Although this, the blue one can go up. For example, this white one, we can go down an octave because that's quite a high-pitched sound. So it also comes with a ton of really good factory content, so you don't specifically need to have samples to be able to load in it. You can just browse through some of the stuff, and for example, let's load up Sound of Metal. Cool thing is also, once you've kind of created a cool patch, you can actually just load up new samples by just dragging it on there, and it keeps the patch intact, but you're just loading up new source material. Wow, that is an absolutely insane plugin. Awesome, that is about it for today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. A big thanks to Dawesome for actually sending me this plugin for the purpose of this video. I was actually about to buy it. I had seen a couple of other demo videos. Obviously, DataBroth and S1gns Of L1fe have done some pretty good videos on this plugin as well. So I'm going to try to post those links in the description, so you guys can go check them out as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and a big thanks to Dawesome for sending me the plugin. If you haven't yet, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel. I will see you guys next time. Cheers.